Welcome to this extended overview of the AQA anthology Telling Tales, an essential part of the GCSE English Literature course. In this video, we'll explore the collection of short stories providing detailed plot summaries and an in-depth look at the key themes in each one. These stories span a range of genres, styles, and cultural perspectives, each offering a unique insight into human nature, identity, and society. Let's begin. The Darkness Out There, by Penelope Lively, presents a seemingly innocent story about two teenagers, Sandra and Kerry, who visit an elderly woman, Mrs. Rutter, as part of a good neighbor scheme. The setting, a rural village, is peaceful on the surface, but the ominous darkness of Packer's End, a nearby forest, hints at something more sinister lurking beneath the tranquility. At first, Sandra, a naive young girl, views the world in simple terms. Good people are kind and evil is easy to identify. She sees Mrs. Rutter as a harmless, kindly old woman. However, over the course of their visit, the story takes a dark turn as Mrs. Rutter reveals a horrifying secret from her past. During World War II, Mrs. Rutter had found an injured German pilot and, instead of helping him, left him to die out of revenge. This revelation shocks Sandra, shattering her idealistic worldview. Lively uses this unsettling story to explore themes of moral complexity, loss of innocence, and the deceptive nature of appearances. Sandra's perception of good and evil is challenged as she realizes that even ordinary, everyday people can harbor dark and vengeful thoughts. The title, The Darkness Out There, refers not only to the physical danger of Packer's End, but also to the hidden darkness within human beings. The story highlights the fragility of youthful innocence and the unsettling discovery that the world is far more complex than it seems. In H.G. Wells' Gothic tale, The Red Room, the unnamed narrator arrives at a haunted castle to disprove the existence of ghosts. He is a rational man determined to show that the fear associated with the castle's infamous Red Room is based on superstition, not fact. As he spends the night in the room, strange events unfold. Candles go out inexplicably, and the room grows colder and more oppressive. Eventually, the narrator is overwhelmed by terror, fleeing the room in panic. What's notable in the Red Room is that no actual ghost appears. Instead, Wells focuses on the psychological effects of fear. The narrator's bravado crumbles, and he learns that the true danger in the room is not a ghostly presence, but fear itself. The story's primary theme is the power of fear and the limits of human rationality. Wells suggests that fear can be as dangerous as any physical threat, and that the mind's reaction to fear can be uncontrollable, regardless of how logical or composed someone believes they are. The story reflects a common theme in Gothic literature: the tension between the known and the unknown, between reason and superstition. By the end, the narrator acknowledges that fear is a force unto itself, something that can consume and overpower even the most rational mind. The Signalman, by Charles Dickens. The Signalman is a haunting tale that centers on a railway signalman plagued by supernatural visions. The story is set in a remote railway cutting, a symbol of the industrialization that was rapidly transforming Victorian England. The signalman confides in the narrator that he has seen ghostly apparitions warning of impending disasters. Each time the ghost appears, a tragic accident follows. As the signalman recounts these visions, a sense of dread builds, culminating in the signalman's own death, an accident eerily foretold by the ghostly figure. The ambiguity of the story leaves readers questioning whether the apparitions were real or manifestations of the signalman's psychological torment. The signalman explores themes of fate, the supernatural, and the isolation brought about by industrialization. Dickens uses the setting of the railway, an emblem of progress and modernity, to delve into the darker consequences of technological advancement. The signalman's isolation, both physical and emotional, reflects the alienation that can come with progress. The story also questions the role of fate. If the disasters are inevitable, what power do individuals have to change their destinies? It's a poignant reflection on human helplessness in the face of forces beyond our control. The Telltale Heart by Edgar Allan Poe. Edgar Allan Poe's The Telltale Heart is a chilling psychological thriller told from the perspective of an unreliable narrator who insists on his sanity even as he describes the murder he commits. Obsessed with the old man's vulture eye, the narrator meticulously plans and executes the murder, hiding the body beneath the floorboards. However, his guilt soon consumes him, and he begins to hear the relentless beating of the old man's heart, imaginary but all too real to him. Poe's use of a first-person narrative creates a claustrophobic atmosphere, drawing readers into the mind of the narrator, who is clearly unstable. The story explores themes of madness, guilt, and the unreliability of perception. Poe masterfully blurs the lines between reality and delusion, showing how guilt can distort the mind's ability to differentiate between the two. The narrator's descent into madness is accelerated by his obsessive fixation on the beating heart, which symbolizes the inescapability of guilt. Through this, Poe examines how guilt and mental instability can destroy a person from within. The Monkey's Paw by W. Jacobs. In W. Jacobs' classic horror story, The Monkey's Paw, a magical talisman, a withered monkey's paw, grants 3 wishes, but with devastating consequences. The White family, intrigued by the paw's power, wishes for money. Tragically, their son Herbert dies in an accident, and the compensation they receive is the exact sum they wished for. Overcome by grief, they use the paw to wish for Herbert's return, but the horror that follows suggests that sometimes it's better to leave the dead undisturbed. The central themes of The Monkey's Paw include fate, greed, and the dangers of interfering with the natural order. Jacobs warns that the desire to control one's fate, particularly through supernatural means, can lead to unintended and catastrophic consequences. The story also reflects the idea that material wealth and happiness cannot be forced or demanded, and that meddling with fate often brings more harm than good. That brings us to the end of our detailed exploration of the AQA Telling Tales anthology. Each of these stories offers unique insights into human nature, identity, and society, making them perfect for studying and discussing in your English literature course. As you analyze these texts, think about how the authors use different narrative techniques to engage readers and explore universal themes. End of video.